How to purify any water when the world has ended. The filters are gone, the rivers glow faintly at night, and you're one bad sip away from becoming a cautionary tale. The cities are quiet now. Not peaceful quiet, wrong quiet. The kind where you hear your own heartbeat and wonder if it's the last interesting sound you'll ever make. Taps stopped working 3 weeks ago. Bottled water? Gone in 48 hours, grabbed by people who were smarter, faster, or just more paranoid than you. The streams are still running, beautiful even, but you've seen what lives in that water under a microscope, a whole civilization down there, thriving, aggressive, and extremely motivated to move into your intestines permanently. No filter, no tablets, no survival gear from that overpriced outdoor store that burned down in week 1. What you do have, a piece of copper wire, a strip of zinc, and the ghost of a chemistry class you barely passed. Turns out, that's enough. Time to make your own drinkable water with 2 pieces of metal, like a wizard, a broke, slightly feral wizard. All right, here's the thing nobody told you, and nobody wanted to tell you because there's a $35 billion industry built on the assumption that you'll never figure this out. 2 metals, copper and zinc, twisted together, dropped in water. That's it. That's the whole secret the ancient Egyptians knew, the Greeks sailed oceans with, the Romans built empires on, and NASA quietly confirmed in the 1980s before the filter lobby had a collective panic attack and buried it under a mountain of marketing. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. You're standing next to a questionable puddle in what used to be a suburb. Let's talk about what you actually need to do. Step 1. Find your copper. Copper wire's everywhere in the ruins of civilization. It's inside every wall, every appliance, every piece of electrical infrastructure that humanity spent 200 years building, and you now get to scavenge like a very educated raccoon. Rip it out of an old extension cord, pull it from a busted lamp, strip the insulation off, use a knife, a rock, your teeth if you're feeling dramatic, and get yourself about 30 centimeters of bare copper wire. 14 gauge is ideal, but honestly, the apocalypse doesn't care about gauge. Use what you got. Step 2. Find your zinc. Zinc is slightly trickier, but not much. Old galvanized pipes, zinc coated. Certain old coins, zinc core. Hardware stores, the ones that haven't been completely stripped, will have galvanized metal strips or roofing flashing. You want a piece roughly the same length as your copper, 30 centimeters, give or take. The apocalypse has loose tolerances. Step 3. Twist them together. Not loosely, not I'll figure it out later. Firmly. Physical contact between these 2 metals is the entire mechanism. This isn't decorative. You're building a galvanic cell, a tiny, primitive battery made of metal and desperation. Twist the copper and zinc together along their length so they're touching at multiple points. If you have wire, bind them. If you don't, twist harder. Channel your frustration about the end of civilization into this step. It helps. Step 4. Drop it in the water. Find a container, non-reactive, plastic, glass, ceramic, anything that isn't metal, because you don't want random ions crashing the party. Fill it, drop your copper zinc twist in, walk away. Now, wait. 4 hours minimum. 8 is better. 16 is ideal if you've got the time and the patience, which, given that civilization has collapsed, you probably do. Step 5. Pre-filter first. If the water looks like a construction site runoff, run it through a cloth, a shirt, a sock. Remove the chunks. The metals handle what you can't see. Step 6. Carbon finish. Pack real charcoal into a sock or cloth tube. Pour the water through slowly. It strips the last of the chemical nastiness, heavy metals, organics, the lingering taste of this river used to be behind a factory. What comes out the other side is water. Actual, drinkable, won't kill you water.
Let's stay with the science, because understanding the why matters. Here's what's actually happening in that container while you're waiting and trying not to think about everything that's gone wrong. When copper and zinc touch in water, they create a galvanic cell. Electrons start moving from the zinc to the copper. Zinc is the active metal, copper is the noble one, and together they generate a tiny but relentless electrochemical reaction. This reaction releases copper ions into the water, specifically cupric ions, Cu2+, if you want to get technical, which you do, because knowing the name of the thing saving your life feels important. These ions are, to put it scientifically, absolutely lethal to microbial life. Here's how lethal. Copper ions carry a positive charge. Bacterial cell membranes carry a negative charge. Opposites attract. You remember that from physics or from your personal life. Either works. The copper ions slam into the bacterial membrane, punch through it, and then wreck the cell's internal machinery, DNA, proteins, enzymes, all of it. The bacteria doesn't adapt, it doesn't evolve a resistance in real time. It just stops, dies, becomes a non-issue. This is called the oligodynamic effect, and it's working since before humans had a word for it. The Egyptians stored water in copper vessels and noticed it stayed clean. They didn't know why, they just knew it worked, and they kept doing it for 3,000 years, which is a longer clinical trial than most modern pharmaceuticals get. The Greeks figured it out on ships. Wooden barrels of water turned green and foul within weeks. Dysentery, algae, things that made sailors wish they'd stayed home. Copper vessels, the water stayed drinkable for months. They didn't call it electrochemistry, they called it the copper does something good, keep using it, which is honestly a perfectly valid scientific conclusion. The Romans built entire aqueduct systems with copper and bronze components, not because it was cheap, it wasn't, because it worked, because water that moved through copper infrastructure arrived at the other end cleaner than when it started. Then, in 1984, a man named Don Heskett accidentally rediscovered this while experimenting with water treatment. He noticed that when copper and zinc were placed together in water, chlorine, the stuff municipalities dump in water to kill bacteria, disappeared. Not because it was failing, because the metals were doing the job better, faster, and without the chemical aftertaste. NASA looked at this and said, yes, we want this on spacecraft, because in space you cannot run to the store for a new Brita filter. The water filter industry looked at this and said, absolutely not, this costs $5 and lasts forever, and we cannot build a subscription model around it. And so it got quiet. Not banned, not disproven, just quiet. Buried under $35 billion of marketing for products that cost $600 over 6 years and end up in landfills. You, standing in the ruins of that world, with your $5 piece of copper wire and your strip of zinc, you just opted out of the whole system. Numbers matter, even in the apocalypse. Peer-reviewed studies show water stored with copper for 16 hours sees up to 99.9% reduction in harmful bacteria, E. coli, Salmonella, Vibrio cholerae, the thing behind cholera, which historically killed more soldiers than combat. Still out there, still waiting, gone, or close enough that your immune system handles the rest. Copper-zinc is more aggressive than copper alone. The galvanic reaction actively accelerates ion release, generating fresh ions as long as the metals touch. And the beautiful part? They don't get used up, not for years. Your $5 twist outlasts every plastic filter cartridge that's ever clogged, expired, or become a doorstop. The Egyptians ran this for 3,000 years. You've got time. Pour it, hold it up to whatever light you've got. Fire, window, bioluminescent sky if things got really interesting. Clear, no smell, tastes like water, not the river behind the old factory. Drink it. That's survival. 3,000 years of ingenuity in a piece of wire that cost less than a coffee in the world that used to exist. No filter, no subscription, no industry between you and clean water. Just copper, zinc, time, and the fact that you paid attention today. Water's clean. You're alive. Congrats. That's not luck. That's science. And now, so do you.